Hello and welcome. And I am joined by Andy Morrison, who is a Director of UK Property Development. And Andy, I want to talk about your style of development. And I guess the big question is, with lots and lots of developments across Britain, lots of housing choice. Obviously, we've got a government edict, a government mandate, which is for developers like yourself to build more and more and more homes. I think the latest number, albeit it changes a bit, is 350,000 new homes each year. When it comes to someone that wants to buy a new build property, why are you different? How are you different to the literally hundreds of thousands of other properties that are being built across the UK? What's your differentiator?
Good question, Russell. So our approach is very much more like you're going to buy a suit or a dress for a special occasion, and you can go to the shop and buy something off the peg, and you have a limited choice. You can choose the colour and maybe the size. As opposed to going to Savile Row and getting a bespoke suit or dress. So we're applying that process to housing. So the outside of the houses on both of these sites that we're about to launch are fixed. So you choose a house type, and that house type is tied to a plot. So that's the only fixed bit. From that point onwards, you have as much choice as you want. So you can then either buy that house as what we would call shell and core. Mm-hmm. It's not even got a set of stairs. It's outside, it's fully formed, landscaped.
So outside it's done, I guess because you have planning constraints, you can't do it. The inside, it's a box.
It's complete, apart from one supporting wall downstairs, no stairs, just the first floor, and you then work with the team to design. And now, of course, you'll get a discount from what I'll come to option B in a minute, which will allow you to finish it to our specification. But you might decide that you want to spend 200 grand on a kitchen, or you want 4 Miele ovens or whatever else. So you can spend whatever you want, but we know that you could finish that house to the specification that we've originally designed for the discount that we're going to give you.
So just to be clear, so for those that are watching this that maybe haven't bought a new build property before, you might imagine that if you're going to go and spend, I don't know, what are these in terms of the value of a typical property that you would build?
They're north of 1.5 million.
Okay, so they're a proper price.
Yes.
You would imagine that if you went to, I guess what you would call a normal kind of corporate developer, whoever, there are lots available, you would get choice in terms of how the property was to be configured. But actually the reality is you don't. So if you walk into, let's name some, shall we, without being disparaging, but this is kind of how it is. Bellway, Persimmon, Charles Church, Taylor Wimpey, and so on. You are effectively told generally what you can have in terms of layout, in terms of maybe a choice of 1 or 2 or 3 bathrooms, maybe 3 or 4 kitchens, maybe 3 or 4 tile choices. So even though you're spending with one of those big developers £1.5 million, you're getting very, very limited choice. What you're saying is you've kind of ripped that process, that convention up, and have said very transparently to a potential buyer, you can have what you want. I mean, are you going that far? You can have what you want.
100%. All I would add,
because this is a rare thing.
Well, all I would add is that generally, if you deal with one of the big house builders, you wouldn't even get that much choice. You would typically get a choice of carpet colour if you're early enough, and maybe the colour of the cupboard doors. But there's not that much choice. So what we're offering you here is 2 things. A lot of people like the idea of a self-build. They watch things like Grand Designs. I think it's a great dream.
Yeah.
And then you watch that program and they have problems the minute they dig into the ground. They find a drain. There's a problem. They run out of money.
And ultimately they go massively over budget.
Yeah. So what we're doing is it's a hybrid.
To be clear, it's not for the faint-hearted. So now watching this thinking, oh yeah, I'd rather build my own property. Be careful what you wish for.
Well, that's because of, exactly. Self-build, 100%. So
this is the best of all worlds.
I haven't come to option B yet. So option A, yes, you buy it as shell and core, and you then work with the team, and you design it exactly as you want. And that's, for some people, an amazing opportunity. They like the idea of self-build, but they haven't got the experience, the time, the money. So this is a hybrid. Option B is you choose your house type, but then our interior architect and designers, Bell Maison, have come up with 2 downstairs layouts, and 2 upstairs layouts. So you can then choose the layout of the house. We will then carry on all the way through, and the team have chosen a range of kitchens, a range of bathrooms, a range of flooring, a whole load of stuff, but you will be guided by the interior design team.
So you're having a handheld more than with option A.
Much more. Yeah. So you do get the house that you want, but someone's already made some of the decisions for you.
Yeah, and someone that knows what they're doing.
Absolutely.
Because we all think probably we're a bit of an interior designer, but you've got an interior designer that says, look, in terms of the optimal, the ultimate interior, in terms of layout, in terms of bathroom look and feel, kitchen look and feel, even down to colours of walls and so on.
Correct.
I guess they can do soft furnishings and
They can listen. If
they're giving you a template.
Yeah, and then if you wanted to have them to create furniture for you and everything else, they can do all of that. Obviously, that's extra. The important distinction between A and B also is funding. So if you decide to buy, let's call it shell and core option A, you need to get a self-built mortgage at the point where you buy the shell and core.
Because you're buying an unfinished product.
Correct.
Yeah.
So you're getting a self-built mortgage, and let's call it 65% done.
Yeah.
So 3-4 months, you get a self-built mortgage, and it takes you through to the end. On option B, the bank is funding it all the way through.
Yeah, because you're effectively buying a finished product because you've gone with one of the templates that the interior designer has recommended.
Correct. Yeah. So it just it's a guided process. You have the whole interior design experience. The team at Belmaison are amazing. They do our show homes. They've done lots of work for us and for our clients.
Yeah.
And the client experience has been exceptional.
And how unusual is this? I mean, obviously you're biased because you're advancing this this proposition, this kind of new way of doing things. I mean, I've been in property a long time, and I know quite a number of new build developers, house builders. I don't think I've ever seen what they call an SME developer. So, you know, a niche specialist house builder like yourself offer this, because often smaller builders, when I say smaller, I mean smaller than a Persimmon that's, you know, worth billions and billions of pounds, builds tens of thousands of homes. It's seen as too complicated, but you're forgoing that, because I guess you understand that these days, particularly at a high ticket price, this is what consumers really want, like they would if they were speccing a new car, like they would, if, as to your analogy, if they were having a suit tailored and so on. I mean, even down to holidays now, we kind of expect that choice, don't we? We don't want to go with what the travel agent says. You know, we might want to stop off in Dubai for a couple of nights. We might want to stay at different hotels. We, you know, might want to go on a little kind of adventure midway through. You know, we want that bespoke tailoring, and we kind of understand and accept it, whether it's holidays, cars, or whatever. But it's never really been applied to houses up till now. So this is pretty rare, isn't it?
I think so. And I think more and more, our last development that we did, the customers that were early actually wanted more changes and options than really we were prepared to do.
So that made you think again.
Correct.
Yeah. So it's almost like a customer first principle, isn't it?
100%.
Yeah. Rather than what's good for us as a developer.
Yeah, no,
because we don't want the aggro.
This will be complex for us.
Yeah.
However, the end result will be, and at this level, you're probably not going to be. You're not on the ladder. This is probably your major house purchase of your life. So you want to get it right, even down to the fact that there's, you know, a room above the garage, which is typically the average size of a hotel room in Europe, with stairs. So if you wanted to have a gym or an office, whatever, yeah, it's very, very, very flexible. But particularly downstairs, some people really love open plan.
Yeah.
Some people really don't. Mm-hmm. So for us to put all this up and reconfigure things to say, oh, the utility room can go there, or that could be a study, that would all come out through consultation with the interior architecture and design team. How do you live? How do you want to live? How many of you are there? How many bedrooms do you want? Do you want an absolutely enormous master bedroom with a dressing area and a beautiful ensuite?
And only 3 other bedrooms rather than 4 there.
Yeah, but they're all going to be 5 bedrooms, but you might want a bedroom downstairs for your elderly mother. It's just a matter of configuration about how you want to live.
And be honest, is there a downside to either A or B from the consumer, from the buyer's point of view?
No,
Does it take much longer? Is it more expensive? Are they paying a big premium?
No one's paying a premium because we've taken the end price and then discounted it by what we think it would cost to build it, or what we know it would cost us to finish that house to our specification. And it's a decent specification.
So that's on option A. And on option B, I guess the answer is, well, it depends what you want, because you're specifying, to a great degree what you have inside the house.
Yeah.
So I guess it's up to you as the buyer to decide what you're going to pay at the end of the day.
Yes. Now listen, if you decide that you want, there is a famous chef who lives very nearby here. He has 8 Miele ovens in his kitchen, right? He likes to cook, clearly. But you might decide that you want, a whole bunch of extra kit. Now, that's obviously not within the specification. We have specified, decent ovens, decent fridges, everything else. But if you suddenly decide, oh, no, I want a Sub-Zero, that, of course, is not within the budget.
But you can still have it.
You can still have it.
Yeah. So you'll be ultimately flexible regardless of whether it's option A or option B.
Yeah, absolutely. So you would work with the team. As I say, they've selected or curated, I think is probably the right phrase, a really decent range of kitchens with loads of choice. But if you just you want a coffee machine, you want a warming drawer, you want 4 ovens, you can have all of that. But of course, that doesn't come within the budget. If you're overspending, you're overspending.
Yeah. Things like air conditioning.
Everything's optional. Yeah, it could be done. I mean, air conditioning is from an engineering point of view quite complex. But if you're in early enough and that's what you want, then there's a discussion to be had with a contractor.
Because you have to prep other things, I guess, to put things like that in place. So we talked a lot about the interiors and how you can decide what you have as a buyer. What about the exteriors? Can we talk about, I guess, design and whether they can be adapted?
Okay, so this entire site that we're talking about right now,
This is a typical site.
is designed to have the look and feel of a farmstead that's evolved over a period of time. So, but the designs are fixed to a plot, so that we've agreed with the planning authority what the look and feel of the whole place would be.
So
There's been a great deal of thought.
So what we would call elevations in terms of the look, in terms of materials and the windows, the doors, the roofs and so on, all of that is fixed, but basically because that's what you have to agree with the planners.
Yes.
On an exterior perspective, but interior you don't, which is why you could be flexible on the interior.
Absolutely, and what you don't want is lots of people having different designs and it being a bit of a mess. It needs to feel like it's
And it has to be in keeping.
correct. Yeah, I mean, this is very close to the centre of the village. In fact, both the sites that we're about to launch are very close to the centre of the village in Goffs Oak. Both gated, both a short walk to the pub and the centre of the village, as I say.
Yeah.
However, it feels rural.
Yeah.
So if you decide that you like, for instance, this, which looks like a barn.
So what's that? So that's the barn, as in a typical elevation, typical design.
So this is, black barn boards like you'd see out in the country. But if you want one of those, you can only have it on that plot, or that plot. Okay, it's fixed.
Yeah.
But as you drive in, so you'll have a barn on the left-hand side, and you'll have the farmhouse on the right-hand side. So the immediate impression is this feels like a farmstead.
Yeah.
So we have 5 house types, but as I say, they're all allocated to individual plots.
Right. Okay. What about landscaping? Because obviously there's a bit of ground and land around each property here. That presumably can be bespoked as such.
100%, but we would do it to a certain level, and then if you want to do other things, that's absolutely fine. We'd get a contractor, and we're going to be very busy building these houses.
Yeah.
So we can't be spending lots and lots of time doing your individual garden.
Which is a subjective thing as well, isn't it?
Absolutely.
And what about
these
rooms above garages?
Okay, so every garage is a double garage, and it has a room above with stairs inside, and then you can obviously use that for whatever you want, office, gym. It should give you that bit of extra flexibility. A lot of people want to work from home sometimes, but they want to actually go to work, walk out the front door and be separate, not have someone knocking on the door every 5 minutes with the, while you're here, can you just...
Yes, that's familiar.
Yes, exactly. But as I say, these plots are very big. This site, or both sites, could probably accommodate twice as many houses, if not a little bit more. But the decision has been made to make it roomy,
More of a
and exclusive,
Because they are, I mean, we're talking about these two sites specifically, but your whole philosophy as a business is the same regardless. I mean, they're in a fairly rural setting with lots of views, very aesthetic. So I guess you wanted to reflect that rather than, again, what I would call a cookie cutter big developer would do, which is to cram as many, you're being very kind here, I can say this, a typical developer would cram as many properties into a site as possible. You've not done that, so you've created this kind of rural feel around each one.
You think? No, 100%. And if you look at the videos that we've done to drive through these sites, you get the feeling of space. Many people would immediately think about new homes, small gardens.
Yeah.
This is not the case. These are not only is each house got a decent sized garden, there is a feeling of openness within the sites.
Yeah, and if you want to see a site fly through, have a look in the comments below for a link to that, which is very impressive, I have to say. Okay, so look, this is quite a revelation, I think, quite a revolution, maybe we would say, in new house building. Pretty unique, and just exclusive to you guys at UK Property Development. So, wow, okay, well, look, you know where to come. Have a look underneath here in the bio, and you'll see where you can contact Andy and his colleagues and his team if you are interested in actually going on this journey in terms of actually being able to spend, well, it's quite a lot of money on a house, but to have at the end of that what you want rather than what a developer wants you to have. Thanks, Andy.
Thank you.